If you bought eggs recently in Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, New Mexico, or Mississippi, stop scrolling and go check your fridge right now. A company called Midwest Poultry Services just issued a massive recall, nearly 1.6 million dozen eggs, that's over 19 million individual eggs, pulled because they might be contaminated with Salmonella Enteritidis. These eggs were sold at Kroger, Brookshire's, and other regional stores under brand names like Kroger, Simple Truth, Country Morning, and Sunups. Here's the good news so far. 0 illnesses have been reported. The company caught this early through routine testing on its Texas farms and immediately stopped shipments. But millions of these cartons are already sitting in fridges right now, maybe even yours. So in the next 60 seconds, I'm going to show you exactly which codes to look for on your carton, so you know in 10 seconds whether yours is affected. Number 1. Kroger. If you do your weekly shopping at Kroger specifically in Texas or Louisiana, your fridge needs an immediate check. Kroger is one of the primary retailers caught up in this massive 1.6 million dozen egg recall. Midwest Poultry Services shipped potentially contaminated eggs to Kroger stores in these 2 states, with the affected eggs produced between June 6th and July 3rd. The products to watch for are Kroger brand and Simple Truth eggs, both white and cage-free brown. When you grab your carton, don't just glance at the logo on the front, flip it over to the side panel, where the date coding ink is stamped. You're looking for 2 specific plant codes, P1450 or 0840962. If your carton carries either of those numbers, along with a 3-digit Julian date somewhere between 157 and 184, that carton came from the affected Texas farms during the recall window. You'll also want to check the sell-by or best-by date. Anything between July 20th and August 17th, 2026, falls inside the recalled batch. Kroger has pulled the affected inventory and restocked shelves with eggs from unaffected suppliers. But if you bought yours before the recall went public, do not cook or eat them, even if you've already used several eggs from the carton with no problems. The remaining eggs could still carry live Salmonella Enteritidis bacteria. Cooking symptoms don't show up in the eggs themselves. Bring the carton, or even just the code, back to your local Kroger, and they'll issue a full refund. No receipt required in most cases. Number 2. Brookshire's grocery stores. The second major piece of this recall centers on Brookshire's grocery stores. Unlike Kroger, which was affected in Texas and Louisiana only, Brookshire's distribution footprint stretched much wider, covering shoppers in Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, New Mexico, and Mississippi. If you purchased eggs under the Brookshire's or Country Morning brand white or cage-free brown, you'll want to check the side stamping right away. Look for plant code P1950 or 0840962, paired with a Julian date between 157 and 184, and a sell-by or best-by date falling between July 20th and August 17th, 2026. These eggs were produced at the same 2 Texas farms flagged in the FDA notice, then distributed to Brookshire's food service and retail customers across the region. As soon as the recall went public, Brookshire's began pulling the affected lots and restocking with eggs from unaffected suppliers. But because so many cartons had already reached home kitchens across these 6 states, checking your own fridge is still the only way to know for sure. If your carton matches the recall codes, don't eat the eggs even if some have already been used with no issues. Salmonella contamination isn't something you can see, smell, or taste, so a clean track record with a few eggs from the carton doesn't mean the rest are safe. Bag the eggs before tossing them, and wipe down any shelves, trays, or surfaces they touched with hot soapy water. Then bring the carton, or just note the codes, back to your local Brookshire's for a full refund, no questions asked. Number 3. Super One Foods. For bulk shoppers who stock up at Super One Foods, this recall deserves extra attention because of how much volume moves through these stores. Super One Foods is operated by the Brookshire Grocery Company, which means it shares the same regional supply chain that received shipments from the Midwest Poultry Services farms in Texas. If you bought egg flats, multi-dozen packs, or Brookshire's branded cartons at any Super One Foods location in Texas, Louisiana, or Arkansas, don't take chances with them. Because these stores serve larger households and small food service buyers, the eggs often end up in big batch cooking, which means a single contaminated carton can touch a lot more food than it would in a smaller household. To check your stock, look at the side panel of the carton or tray wrapper for the plant code P950 or 0840962. Next to it, you'll find a 3-digit Julian date. If that number falls between 157 and 184, your eggs were packed during the window tied to this recall between June 6th and July 3rd. You'll also want to confirm the sell-by or best-by date falls between July 20th and August 17th, 2026. If your carton matches, don't cook or eat the eggs, even if part of the carton is already gone. Salmonella Enteritidis doesn't change how an egg looks, smells, or tastes, so there's no safe way to check one visually. Bag the eggs, wipe down anything they touched, and bring the carton back to the Super One Foods customer service desk. Refunds are being issued on the spot for any matching lot codes, no receipt required. Number 4. Fresh by Brookshire's even specialty markets weren't exempt from this recall. Fresh by Brookshire's, known for its focus on organic and premium grocery offerings, draws inventory through the same broader Brookshire supply chain. If you shop there for cage-free or farm-fresh eggs, it's easy to assume a boutique label means it's separate from an industrial recall, but that's not how this works. This recall covers both standard white shell eggs and brown cage-free shell eggs, with no exception for premium packaging. Cartons distributed to Fresh by Brookshire's fall under the same voluntary recall as everything else moving through the Brookshire's network. The label on the lid doesn't tell you anything. The answer is in the stamp on the side. Look past the cage-free or farm fresh language and find the plant code printed in date, coding ink. If it reads P9950 or 0840962 and it's paired with a Julian date somewhere between 157 and 184, plus a sell-by or best-by date between July 20th and August 17th, 2026, those eggs are part of the recall and should be thrown out, not cooked. Fresh by Brookshire's has already pulled the affected lots from its cases and restocked with eggs from unaffected suppliers. But if you bought eggs there over the past few weeks and they're still sitting in your fridge, check the codes before you crack any of them for breakfast or baking. A carton looking fresh and premium tells you nothing about whether it's safe, only the stamp does. Number 5. Simple Truth and Simple Truth Organic. One of the more surprising names on this recall list is Simple Truth Kroger's flagship organic and natural store brand. A lot of shoppers pay a premium for Simple Truth eggs, assuming they come from a separate boutique supply chain. But large egg producers like Midwest Poultry Services often pack both conventional and specialty cage-free lines out of the same regional facilities, so a farm-level issue can touch multiple brands at once. This recall specifically includes Simple Truth cage-free eggs sold at Kroger locations in Texas and Louisiana. If you bought Simple Truth eggs expecting organic labeling to mean a separate safety track, you still need to physically check the carton. Look for plant code P1950 or 0840962 printed in black date coding ink on the side of the carton, along with a Julian date between 157 and 184, and a sell-by or best-by date between July 20th and August 17th, 2026. This matters even more here because shoppers who buy organic or cage-free eggs often use them in dishes with little to no cooking homemade dressings, hollandaise, tiramisu, or sunny-side-up eggs with a runny yolk. Salmonella Enteritidis doesn't get killed off unless the egg is fully cooked, so these are exactly the recipes where contaminated eggs pose the highest risk. If your Simple Truth carton carries the P1950 or 0840962 code with a Julian date in that 157-184 range, don't use it in anything cooked or raw. Toss it or bring it back to Kroger for a full refund. Given how these eggs are typically used in the kitchen, this is one recall worth double-checking before your next brunch. Number 6. Country Morning eggs beyond the flagship store brands. Midwest Poultry Services also packages eggs under several regional labels, including Country Morning. This brand is distributed to independent grocers, discount markets, and smaller regional chains across Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, New Mexico, and Mississippi. Country Morning eggs are included in this recall, covering the same production window as the other brand's eggs packed between June 6th and July 3rd, with sell-by or best-by dates between July 20th and August 17th, 2026, because Country Morning tends to stock smaller, independent markets rather than large chains with automated recall systems. Shoppers at these stores need to be extra diligent about checking their own cartons. Check the side panel of your carton for the plant code P1950 or 084000962, along with a 3-digit Julian date between 157 and 184. If those numbers match, don't use the eggs cooked or raw. Bring the carton back to wherever you bought it for a full refund. If you've already thrown the carton away, hang on to your receipt instead. Most stores will still credit you for a recalled item without the physical packaging. And regardless of whether you return it, take a few minutes to sanitize any counters, bowls, or egg trays the shells touched, since salmonella can transfer to surfaces even without the eggs being cracked into food. Number 7. Sunups eggs. Another regional brand named directly in the FDA recall is Sunups. This brand is sold in budget supermarkets, convenience marts, and regional grocery outlets across the South, and it tends to attract shoppers buying in bulk for value. Sunups eggs are included in this recall under the same terms as the other brands produced between June 6th and July 3rd, with sell-by or best-by dates between July 20th and August 17th, 2026. Because bulk egg packs take up more space in the fridge and last families longer, there's a real chance some of these cartons are still sitting in home kitchens right now, weeks after purchase, without anyone realizing they're part of an active recall. Check your Sunups carton side label for plant code P9950 or 0840962, and look for a Julian date somewhere between 157 and 184. With Best By dates stretching out to mid-August, these are exactly the kind of cartons that can get overlooked in the back of the fridge for weeks. If your Sunups carton matches the recall codes, don't take chances with it. Bag the eggs securely before disposing of them, wipe down anything they came into contact with, and bring the carton or your receipt back to wherever you bought it for a refund. Given how long these bulk packs tend to stick around, it's worth checking now rather than assuming they're fine. Number 8. Express Bankhead / Brookshire Express Bankhead and Brookshire Express locations serve rural communities and commuter routes as quick stop markets, carrying essential Brookshire-branded grocery items. Because these stores serve travelers as much as local residents, recalled cartons picked up here may have ended up in coolers or road trip supplies that crossed state lines entirely. Eggs sold under the Brookshire's brand at these express locations carry the same recall risk as eggs sold at full-sized supermarkets, same supplier, same production window. Check the side of the carton for plant code P1950 or 0840962, a Julian date between 157 and 184, and a sell-by or best-by date between July 20th and August 17th, 2026. If you picked up a carton at an Express Bankhead or Brookshire Express store while traveling or running a quick errand, don't cook with it, even if it's just a few eggs left. If getting back to that specific store isn't realistic because of distance, you don't have to return it there. Most Brookshire's affiliated locations can process the refund with just the carton code or your receipt. In the meantime, seal the eggs in a bag before tossing them, and give any coolers, travel bags, or fridge shelves they touched a proper wipe down. It's an easy step to overlook when the eggs came from a quick stop rather than your regular grocery run, but the contamination risk is exactly the same either way. Number 9. Independent regional grocers and local food service outlets. This recall isn't limited to big chain stores. The FDA notice specifically states that Midwest Poultry Services shipped these Texas-produced eggs to independent regional grocers, small corner markets, and local food service distributors across Texas, Oklahoma, and Louisiana. That's a much wider net than most people realize, and it's easy to assume a recall like this only touches the major supermarket brands. If you shop at a local mom-and-pop market, a neighborhood corner store, or you're a small business owner sourcing wholesale eggs for a bakery, diner, food truck, or bed and breakfast, you can't rely on store banners or brand recognition alone. These commercial scale shipments move through the same supply chain as the retail cartons, which means bulk crates and flats used in commercial kitchens are just as much a part of this recall as the boxes on grocery shelves. For commercial buyers and independent shoppers alike, the check is the same. Look at the side stamp on the outer case. Crate, or tray wrapper for plant code P1950 or 0840962, paired with a Julian date between 157 and 184, and a sell-by or best-by date between July 20th and August 17th, 2026. If those numbers match, stop using the eggs immediately. That includes anything already prepped or portioned for cooking. For a small food business, this isn't just about a refund. Serving contaminated eggs to customers carries real liability and health risk. Reach out to your distributor or supplier directly to arrange a return and get replacement stock from an unaffected source. And if you're a home shopper who picked up eggs from a small local market rather than a major chain, don't assume you're in the clear just because the store isn't a household name. The same codes, the same dates, and the same risk apply check before you cook. Number 10. Commercial bulk and food service supply. The commercial side of this 19 million egg recall reaches deep into restaurants, bakeries, and food service operations. Midwest Poultry Services supplied bulk commercial egg cases to businesses across Texas, Louisiana, and Oklahoma, moving through the same production window as the retail cartons eggs packed between June 6th and July 3rd, with sell-by or best-by dates between July 20th and August 17th, 2026. The risk in a commercial kitchen looks different than at home. In a household, a bad carton affects one family. In a restaurant or bakery, a single contaminated egg cracked into a large mixing bowl can spread through dozens of batches of batter, sauce, or dough before anyone knows there's a problem. That's what makes this part of the recall especially urgent for kitchen managers and line cooks. Anyone running a commercial kitchen should check every active egg case in the walk-in cooler right now. Not just what's on today's prep list. Look at the side of the case for plant code P19FO or 0840962, along with a Julian date between 157 and 184. If a case matches, pull it from production entirely. Don't use it for scrambles, batters, or mixed dishes. And be especially careful with anything served undercooked, like poached eggs, soft-boiled eggs, or house-made dressings that rely on raw or lightly cooked egg. Because commercial kitchens serve so many people from a single case of eggs, this isn't a wait-and-see situation. Set the case aside, label it clearly so it doesn't accidentally get used by another staff member, and contact your distributor to arrange a return for full credit. If any dishes were already prepared using eggs from a matching case, it's worth pulling those from the menu until you've confirmed the source. Given how fast a single bad case can move through a busy kitchen, checking your walk-in today is a lot easier than dealing with a foodborne illness complaint next week. Number 11. Private label regional distributors last, but not least. Let's talk about the private label distribution network behind brands like Country Morning and Sunups. These eggs are packaged by Midwest Poultry Services and sold on to regional distribution hubs, which then supply hundreds of smaller, independent markets that don't operate under one recognizable retail banner. Because these private label brands act almost like a catch-all supply for independent grocers across Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, New Mexico, and Mississippi, it's easy for shoppers who don't regularly visit a Kroger or Brookshire's to assume this recall doesn't apply to them. That assumption is exactly the risk here. What matters isn't the name on the store or the carton. It's where the egg was actually laid, packed, and shipped from. So no matter where you bought your eggs across these 6 states, a big chain, a local market, or somewhere in between, the check is the same every time. Flip the carton over, find the plant code on the side, and look for P1950 or 0840962. Next to it, check for a Julian date between 157 and 184. And a sell-by or best-by date between July 20th and August 17th, 2026. If those numbers line up, that carton is part of the 1.6 million dozen recall. Full stop. At this point, you've got the full picture. Which stores are affected, which brands to watch for, and exactly where to look on the carton. Take 2 minutes right now, walk over to your fridge, and check what's actually in there. If it matches, don't cook with it, bag it, toss it, and take it back for a refund. If it doesn't match, you're in the clear. But it's still worth knowing the codes in case you restock over the next few weeks while this recall plays out. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. So here's the bottom line. Nearly 1.6 million dozen eggs, over 19 million individual eggs, are part of this recall. And they made their way through Kroger, Brookshire's, Super One Foods, Fresh by Brookshire's, Simple Truth, Country Morning, Sunups, Express Bankhead, and countless independent grocers and food service kitchens across Texas, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, New Mexico, and Mississippi. The good news is this one's easy to check. You don't need to remember every brand name or every store on this list. You just need 2 things. The plant code, P1950 or 0840962, and a Julian date between 157 and 184 stamped on the side of the carton. If those match, don't cook with the eggs. Bag them, toss them, and take the carton or just your receipt back to wherever you bought them for a full refund. It takes about 2 minutes to walk to your fridge and check. That's a lot better than finding out the hard way. If this video helped you catch a bad carton, do me a favor and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this reach other people who need to see it before they crack an egg into their breakfast tomorrow morning. Subscribe if you want to stay ahead of the next food recall before it hits the news, and drop a comment letting me know which store you shop at so others in your area know to check too. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.